Imagine a story where a near-death experience reveals secrets about our future. Meet Tommy, a 1-year-old whose life takes an unexpected turn. On what started as a normal day, Tommy is suddenly involved in a serious accident. As he hovers between life and death, something extraordinary happens. He finds himself in the presence of Jesus. In this otherworldly moment, Jesus delivers a profound warning about what lies ahead. It's a message filled with urgency and mystery, one that challenges everything we know about our world. What is this divine warning, and how could it change our understanding of the future? Join us as we explore Tommy's incredible journey and uncover the remarkable insights that could reshape our view of the world. Tommy was a jolly and curious 1-year-old, always full of energy and wonder. His laughter was contagious, and his wide eyes seemed to sparkle with excitement as he explored the world around him. His parents, Sarah and John, loved him a lot. They often delighted with how much joy he brought into their lives with the simplest things, whether it was watching him figure out how to bang a spoon on the table, or chasing bubbles blown by his elder sister Emily. On this particular afternoon, the family had planned a usual outing to the park. It was a beautiful day, warm and sunny, perfect for a few hours of play and relaxation. Tommy, as always, was full of energy, running around the park, his small feet carrying him in every direction. Emily played on the swings while Sarah and John sat on a nearby bench, enjoying the sight of their children playing happily. But then, in the blink of an eye, everything changed. Tommy, distracted by a bird flying near the road, wandered too close to the street. Sarah saw him and called out his name, her heart pounding with fear. She stood up, trying to reach him, but it was too late. A car, speeding through an intersection, got out of control. Before anyone could react, the car struck Tommy. The sound of screeching tires and the thud of the mess shattered the calm of the day. Everything seemed to freeze at that moment. Sarah screamed, running toward her son, John close behind her. Emily, frozen on the swing, watched in disbelief. Their perfect day had turned into a nightmare in an instant. Tommy lay still on the ground, not moving. Sarah collapsed beside him, her hands trembling as she cradled his small body, desperately calling his name. But there was no response. His tiny chest wasn't rising, and his eyes remained closed. The weight of that moment crashed down on Sarah and John as fear and despair filled their hearts. Soon the sound of sirens pierced the air as paramedics arrived on the spot. They worked quickly, checking Tommy's condition. His pulse was weak, and his breathing was barely there. The paramedics moved fast, knowing time was running out. Sarah and John stood nearby, helpless and terrified, watching as their little boy's life hung by a thread. Inside the ambulance, the paramedics did everything they could to save Tommy. The ride to the hospital felt endless, every second falling more crucial than the last. Tommy's condition got worse. His tiny body was struggling to hold on. His pulse was slowing, and his breaths were becoming weaker and weaker. In the hospital waiting room, Sarah and John sat in silence, holding each other's hands as if letting go would mean losing their son. Emily sat quietly next to them, hugging her doll tightly, confused and scared. Time went on as they waited for any news, each minute feeling like an eternity. In the ICU, doctors put full efforts desperately to keep Tommy alive. His small body was connected to machines that beeped and whirred, measuring his vitals. But even with all their efforts, it looked like Tommy was slipping away from their hands. And then, just when all hope seemed lost, something incredible happened. As Tommy lay unconscious, he found himself in a place completely different from the hospital. It was peaceful, with a warm, glowing light surrounding him. There was no pain, no fear, only a sense of calm. He looked around and realized he was standing in a beautiful field, filled with soft light. He felt safe, almost like he was being wrapped in love. And then, in front of him, he saw a figure standing in the light. It was a man, but not just any man. Tommy knew, deep in his heart, that this was Jesus. Though Tommy was just a small child, too young to fully understand, he felt a deep sense of connection to Jesus. Jesus knelt down and looked at him with kind eyes. No words were needed at first, but Tommy felt that this moment was important. This was not just an ordinary encounter. It was something beyond anything he had ever experienced. Jesus then spoke to Tommy, his voice calm and filled with love. He told Tommy that he was there to deliver a message, a warning about the future. The message wasn't just for Tommy, it was for everyone. Though Tommy didn't fully understand the details, he knew this was important. The future was going to change, and this message was meant to prepare them for what was coming. As quickly as the vision appeared, it began to fade. Tommy could feel himself being pulled back to the hospital. back to the physical world. In the hospital room, the doctors noticed something remarkable. Tommy's vitals, which had been declining, suddenly started to improve. His heart rate picked up, and his breathing became more stable. The machines that had been beeping an alarm now showed signs of life. The doctors baffled in shocking glances at each other. Tommy was recovering against all odds. In the waiting room, a doctor approached Sarah and John, her face still showing signs of disbelief. "He's stable," she said. "He's still in critical condition, but he's holding on." Sarah and John burst into tears of relief. They hugged each other tightly, overwhelmed by the sudden turn of events. Just moments before, they had been preparing for the worst. Now their little boy had a fighting chance. But what they didn't know was that Tommy's journey was far from over. What he had experienced wasn't just a near-death moment. It was something much greater. The message he received from Jesus would soon reveal itself to be a warning about a future they couldn't yet imagine. As Tommy slept peacefully in his hospital bed, his family stayed close, watching over him. They didn't know what Tommy had seen or felt during those critical moments, but they would soon understand that this wasn't just about survival. It was the beginning of something far more significant, a message that would change everything. Tommy's recovery was nothing short of miraculous. The doctors had braced his family for the worst, but against all odds, he pulled through. His parents, overwhelmed with relief and gratitude, could hardly believe their eyes. But something had changed in Tommy. He wasn't the same little boy who had gone on that fateful outing. From the moment he awoke in the hospital, it was clear Tommy had been profoundly affected. He was quieter, more introspective. When he began to talk about his experience, his encounter with Jesus, and the warning about the future, his parents were both amazed and unsettled. Initially, Tommy's mother, Sarah, found it hard to believe. Could a child so young really have such vivid visions? But as Tommy described the serene realm, the radiant light, and his meeting with Jesus, Sarah felt a chill. The clarity and urgency in Tommy's words were too striking to ignore. It was as if Jesus had given him a message meant for everyone. John, Tommy's father, was more skeptical at first. He wanted to believe his son, but found it difficult to accept such a miraculous event at face value. Yet, as Tommy continued to speak with a calm certainty about the future, of chaos, natural disasters, and the need for preparation, John's skepticism began to wane. The weight of Tommy's words settled heavily on him. As Tommy regained his strength, his family started to notice strange occurrences. News reports about extreme weather and natural disasters began to flood in. Floods, earthquakes, and storms seemed to intensify, echoing the visions Tommy had described. It was as if the world was beginning to mirror the warnings he had received. The family was torn. Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that Tommy's experience was a divine message. Each news story felt like a confirmation of what Tommy had seen. She was consumed by a growing sense of urgency. How could they prepare for something so vast and unknown? John struggled with doubt and fear. He had always leaned on reason and faith, but this was different. The idea that Jesus had given a warning through his son was almost too much to grasp. He found himself replaying Tommy's account over and over, trying to reconcile it with what he saw happening in the world. The skepticism from others didn't help. When Sarah and John shared Tommy's experience with close friends and family, reactions were mixed. Some listened with concern, while others dismissed it as a result of Tommy's trauma. The family felt isolated, their fear and confusion deepening. Sarah's nights were filled with worry. She lay awake, her mind racing with thoughts about the future. What could they do to protect themselves and others? The weight of the warning felt unbearable. John, on the other hand, withdrew into his work, using it as a distraction from the unsettling reality. He was a man of action, but faced with the enormity of the warning, he felt helpless. His faith was tested as he grappled with the message's implications. Tommy, though only a child, carried the burden of his encounter with Jesus. He didn't fully understand what was coming, but he felt a deep sense of responsibility. He wanted to share the message, but how could he make people listen? The family's once secure world now felt fragile. The warning from Jesus had shattered their sense of normalcy, forcing them to confront fears they had never imagined. Their lives, once predictable and comfortable, now seemed precarious. As they struggled to make sense of everything, Tommy's family found themselves questioning their priorities, their faith, and their future. The message had left an indelible mark on them, and they knew their lives had irrevocably changed. They had been given a glimpse of a future that was both alarming and hopeful, a future they had to prepare for, no matter how daunting it seemed. As Tommy's family began to process the divine warning he had received, they soon found themselves caught up in a series of unexpected and challenging events. What seemed like a clear path to understanding and preparation quickly became filled with complications. The first major issue was the growing skepticism from outside their family. News of Tommy's miraculous recovery and his strange warning spread quickly, drawing both attention and criticism. Some people started questioning whether Tommy's experience was real, suggesting it might just be the result of a young child's imagination, influenced by the trauma of his accident. This skepticism was difficult for Sarah and John, who had been relying on Tommy's message as a source of guidance and hope. Their attempts to share Tommy's experience with others only added to the stress. Reactions varied widely. Some people listened with concern, but many dismissed the account as fantasy. The media's sensational headlines and debates only intensified the scrutiny. The family felt overwhelmed, struggling to defend Tommy's experience while dealing with their own fears and doubts. To make matters worse, real-world events started to align with the warning Tommy had received. Natural disasters began occurring with increasing frequency. Floods, hurricanes, and earthquakes, each more severe than the last. The news reports were filled with images of destruction that seemed to match Tommy's visions. It felt like the warning was coming true right before their eyes. Despite these troubling signs, not everyone in the family was convinced of the warning's significance. Some relatives and close friends started questioning whether Tommy's experience really mattered. This growing division created tension within the family. Sarah remained firmly convinced of the warning's truth and felt a strong need to act. She began preparing for potential disasters by stocking up on supplies and fortifying their home. But John, torn between doubt and concern, was hesitant. He worried that their preparations might seem excessive or that they might be missing out on normal life opportunities. The disagreements between Sarah and John led to frequent arguments, straining their relationship. The family's once harmonious dynamic became fraught with tension as they struggled to reconcile their beliefs with the unfolding reality. The pressure from outside skepticism and their internal conflicts were taking a toll. Tommy, still a young child, felt the weight of the situation deeply. He struggled to understand why people were questioning his experience and why the world seemed to react so negatively. The burden of the warning was heavy, and he felt increasingly helpless as he watched his family struggle. As they navigated these challenges, the family faced a difficult journey between faith and doubt, hope and despair. The warning that had once seemed like a clear guide now felt like a source of confusion and division. The real-world disasters that matched Tommy's visions only added to their stress, making their path to preparation seem uncertain and fraught with difficulties. Tommy's experience had set off a series of events that tested not only their understanding of the world, but also their relationships with each other. As they continued to deal with the complications of the warning, they had to find a way to maintain their faith and unity amid growing doubt and division. The story reaches its peak when a major event unfolds that aligns exactly with Tommy's warning. The family is thrown into a crisis that challenges their unity and faith like never before. The big event is a powerful earthquake that hits their area with devastating force. The destruction is massive, and it closely matches the scenes Tommy had described. It's clear now that the warning wasn't just a vague prediction. It was a precise forewarning of this disaster. As the earthquake strikes, the family finds themselves in immediate danger. Their home, which they had tried so hard to prepare and protect, is badly damaged. The shock and fear are overwhelming, and the reality of Tommy's warning becomes painfully clear. What they had feared and prepared for has come to pass, and they must face the situation head-on. Sarah and John are faced with urgent decisions. Their plans for dealing with the disaster are put to the test. Sarah, who firmly believes in the warning, steps up to lead. She takes charge of organizing their response, coordinating with emergency services, and ensuring that everyone in their community has the help they need. Her determination and leadership provide a much-needed sense of direction and hope during the chaos. John, who had been skeptical, finds himself taking action in surprising ways. He puts his doubts aside and helps with rescue efforts and supports those affected by the quake. The experience forces him to confront his skepticism and accept the reality of the situation. His new clarity helps guide the family through the crisis, showing his growth and adaptation. Tommy, despite being so young, plays an important role. His experiences and the insights from his near-death encounter offer valuable guidance. The family starts to view Tommy's vision not just as a warning, but as a source of inspiration. His bravery and strength become a rallying point for the family, reinforcing the lessons they've learned. As the immediate impact of the earthquake begins to fade, the family reflects on the event and the warning they received. They find a new sense of clarity and purpose in the aftermath. What was once a source of fear and doubt now serves as a guiding light through their darkest hours. In the end, the family comes out of the disaster stronger and more united. They've faced their fears, made tough choices, and survived a crisis that tested their limits. The experience has brought them a deeper understanding of the warning and a stronger bond with one another. The resolution shows how Tommy's near-death experience and the warning have changed their lives. They've not only survived the disaster, but also gained a greater appreciation for their faith, their relationships, and their ability to face the future together. The journey has been difficult, but it has given them a clearer sense of purpose and a stronger family connection. With the immediate crisis behind them, the family takes time to reflect on their incredible journey. Tommy's near-death experience and the divine warning from Jesus have led to major changes in their lives. As they look back, they see how much they have grown. The frightening event has brought them closer together, strengthened their faith, and deepened their understanding of the warning's importance. What began as a terrifying ordeal has turned into a profound lesson in faith and resilience. Tommy's experience and the message he received have made a big impact. They now see the power of divine intervention and understand why it's so important to listen to such warnings. The disaster that happened confirmed the warning's truth and showed them the need to be prepared and stay united during tough times. The story ends by reflecting on the lessons learned. It shows the value of faith and foresight and how divine messages can lead to real change. The family's journey demonstrates that even in the face of doubt and fear, faith can lead to personal growth and a stronger bond with each other. They have learned that faith isn't just about believing when things are clear, but also about trusting and finding strength in the unknown. Their experience has shown them that divine guidance, even when it seems unlikely, can lead to important transformations. Looking ahead, the family carries the wisdom they've gained from their journey. They understand that the warning was more than just a prediction. It was a call to action, a chance to grow, adapt, and strengthen their beliefs. The story concludes with a powerful message about faith, divine intervention, and the lasting impact of listening to and learning from extraordinary experiences.